was worried 2 hours would be gone. So it'll be a weight off of me back to get this done this morning. But I love to do it. I enjoy it. Because, you know, I'm silly enough to believe it. That's all. If I didn't believe it, I guess I wouldn't be reading it. The book is commentary on it by various people. One of them, none other than the famous Dr. Young. Very interesting. Dr. Young had some interesting experiences. You know. Was in one room. Room next to it was a kitchen. He heard all the bing bang and cupboards and glass breaking. And he went in there and thought he'd see somebody, and there was nobody there. But the kitchen was all broke up. In his own biography that he wrote of his life, he tells about it. Why? These fancy doors he's got on.
Keep you in suspense.
It's either vast egotism or else he figures he's a movie star and nobody just doesn't know it yet. And he might be before he gets through. Who the hell knows? Anything can happen. Better whack it and we'll be on our way, man. In the name of the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. To the divine ones of Trikaya, who are the embodiment of the all-enlightened mind itself, obeisance. This treatise appertains to the profound doctrine of self-liberation by meditating upon the peaceful and wrathful deities. It expounds the yoga of knowing the mind, seeing of reality, self-liberation. By this method, one's mind is understood. When they speak of mind here, they're speaking of the eternal reality. It's spoken of as clear light, the thatness, the void, are all speaking of that one energy behind it all that represents all life and all potential for the future. O blessed ones, ponder these teachings deeply. Samaya, Gaya, Gaya, Imaho. Salutation to the one mind. All hail to the one mind that embraces the whole samsara and nirvana, that eternally as it is, yet is unknown. That, although ever clear and ever existing, is not visible. That, although radiant and unobscured, is not recognized. These teachings are for the purpose of enabling one to know this mind, to become consciously aware of it within you. Because everything that I'm going to read to you is directed personally to all of you, and each one can accomplish anything they mention in here if they set their cotton-picking minds to do it. All that has been taught heretofore by the Buddhas of the 3 times in virtue of their having known this mind, as recorded in the Door of Dharma, consisting of 84,000 shlokas and elsewhere, remains incomprehensible. Now there's one more thing you should do. You push back your hair. You wait till the thing starts, and then you take off your coat. That puts you in attention. And then you push back your hair and make that right, to be sure that nobody misses you. Did you ever stop to think of that? You do it all the time. The conquerors have not else... You see, this is what I mean. Rub the belly and kick him in the butt at the same time. The conquerors have not elsewhere taught anything concerning the one mind. Although as vast as the illimitable sky, the sacred scriptures contain but few words relating to knowledge of the mind. This, the true explanation of these eternal teachings of the conquerors, constitutes a correct method of their practical application. Kai, Kai, Ho. Blessed disciples, hearken. The result of not knowing the one mind. Knowledge of that which is vulgarly called mind is widespread. Inasmuch as the one mind is unknown or thought of erroneously or known one-sidedly without being thoroughly known as it is, desire for these teachings will be immeasurable. They'll also be sought after by ordinary individuals who, not knowing the one mind, do not know themselves. Because we don't know our own minds, except in spots. They wander hither and thither in the three regions, and thus among the six classes of beings: suffering, sorrow. Such is the result of their error of not having attained understanding of their minds, of our own minds. Because this suffering is in every way overpowering, even self-control is lacking to them. Thus, although one may wish to know the mind as it is, one fails. Others, in accordance with their own particular faith and practice, having become fettered by desires, cannot perceive the clear light. They are overwhelmed by suffering and are in darkness because of their suffering. Although the middle path contains a twofold truth, because of desires it finally becomes obscured. And that's the funny thing about desires. God bless. Desires never fulfill their promises. They never live up to their promises. If anything that we're attached to and must have over everything else, and we get it, we damn quick get sick of it. Desires likewise obscure Kriya, Yoga, and Siva Sadhana, and even the greatest and sublimest states of mind. There being really no duality, pluralism is untrue. Until duality is transcended and at one-ment realized, enlightenment cannot be attained. The whole samsara and nirvana as an inseparable unity are one's mind or consciousness, the consciousness. The great self-liberation, owing to worldly beliefs which he's free to accept or reject, man wanders in the samsara. Therefore, practicing a dharma, freed from every attachment, grasp the whole essence of these teachings expounded in this yoga of self-liberation by knowing the mind in its real nature. The truths set forth herein are known as the great self-liberation, and in them culminates the doctrine of the great ultimate perfection. Samaya, Gaya, Gaya, Gaya. That which is commonly called mind is of intuitive wisdom. Although the one mind is, it has no existence, being a source of all the bliss of nirvana and all the sorrows of samsara, cherished like the 11 yanas. Yanas means different ways of getting to the truth, the different teachings. Although the one mind is, it has no existence. We have fantasies. And how long do we remember them? It's the same thing in that which is causing this whole action to take place in what we call the physical world. It's but a projection from that greater power and consciousness behind it, so we'll find out the answers to the various things and grow. It is a school, whether we like it or not. The names given to the mind, the various names given to it are innumerable. Some call it the mental self, certain heretics call it the ego, Hinayanists it's called the essentiality of doctrine, by the Yogacara it's called wisdom. Some call it the means of attaining the other shore of wisdom. Some call it the Buddha essence, the great symbol, soul seed, potentiality of truth, the all foundation. Other names in ordinary language are also given to it. If one knows how to apply in the threefold manner this knowing of the mind, all past knowledge lost to memory becomes perfectly clear, and also knowledge of the future thought of as unborn and unconceived. In the present, when the mind remains as it is naturally, it is comprehended by its own time. These are Tibetan teachings. A very famous Tibetan by the name of Tilopa gave a few lines that tell all about it. Gwen put it to music. Imagine not, think not, analyze not, meditate not, reflect not, keep in the natural state. And I think Zen would okay that too. I think Taoists would okay it. And all great religions. Now this is mind in its true state I'm going to read to you here. This is when you have come to the realization that your own natural mind, without the things added to it that former incarnations have given you, and what you've been conditioned to in this lifetime, what it really is in essence, when you can let go and enjoy it. When one seeks one's mind in its true state, it is found to be quite intelligible, although invisible. In its true state, mind is naked, immaculate, not made of anything, being of the voidness. Vacuous, clear, without duality, transparent, timeless, uncompounded, unimpeded, colorless, not realizable as a separate thing, but as a unity of all things, yet not composed of them, of one taste, and transcendent over differentiation. Nor is one's own mind separable from other minds in that particular state that was just mentioned. Because that's the eternal essence right there. That in consciousness you can see it all clearly and not be involved in any of it. To realize the quintessential being of the one mind is to realize the immutable one-ment of the Trikaya. The mind being as the uncreated and the voidness, the Dharmakaya, as a vacuous and self-radiant, the Sambhogakaya, as the unobscured, shining for all living creatures, the Nirmanakaya, is the primordial essence wherein its three divine aspects are one. Even as in Christianity, Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, as in the Vedanta, Sat, Chit, Ananda. That purpose is not to help the oneness function better. It's to help us at our particular level of functioning through our lower personalities to understand it. Because we can look at it from different angles, see it, get an idea of how much it really is in the very oneness. If the yogic application of this wisdom be thorough, one will comprehend that which has just been set forth above. Mind is non-created. Mind in its true nature being non-created and self-radiant, how can one without knowing the mind assert that mind is created? There being in this yoga nothing objective upon which to meditate, how can one without having ascertained the true nature of mind by meditation assert that mind is created? Mind in its true state being reality, how can one without having discovered one's own mind assert that mind is created? Mind in its true state being undoubtedly ever existing, how can one without having seen the mind face to face assert that mind is created? The thinking principle being of the very essence of mind, how can one without having sought and found it assert that mind is created? Mind being transcendent over creation, and thus partaking of the uncreated, how can one assert that mind is created? Mind being in its primordial, unmodified naturalness, non-created as it should be taken to be, and without form, how can one assert that it is created? Inasmuch as mind can also be taken to be devoid of quality, how can one venture to assert that it is created? The self-born, qualityless mind, being like the three voids, undifferentiated, unmodified, how can one assert that mind is created? Mind being without objectivity and causation, self-originated, self-born. How can one without having endeavored to know mind assert that mind is created? Inasmuch as divine wisdom dawns in accordance with its own time, and one is emancipated, how can opponents of these teachings assert that it is created? Mind being as it is of this nature, and thus unknowable, how can one assert that it is created? The yoga of introspection. The one mind being verily the voidness without any foundation, One's mind is likewise as vacuous as the sky. To know whether this be so or not,
look within thine own mind.
being in the voidness and thus not to be conceived as having beginning or ending, self-born wisdom has in reality been shining forever, like the sun's essentiality itself unborn. To know whether this be so or not,
Look within thine own mind.
divine wisdom is undoubtedly indestructible, unbreakable, like the ever-flowing current of a river. To know whether this be so or not,
Look within thine own mind.
being merely a flux of instability like the air of the firmament, objective appearances are without power to fascinate and fetter. To know whether this be so or not,
Look within thine own mind.
all appearances are verily one's own concepts, self-conceived in the mind, like reflections seen in a mirror. To know whether this be so or not,
Look within thine own mind.
arising of themselves and being naturally free, like the clouds in the sky. All external appearances verily fade away into their own respective places. To know whether this be so or not,
Look within thine own mind.
the Dharma within. The Dharma being nowhere save in the mind, there is no other place of meditation than the mind. The Dharma being nowhere save in the mind, there is no other doctrine to be taught or practiced elsewhere. The Dharma being nowhere save in the mind, there is no other place of truth for the observance of the vow.
Again and again, look within thine own mind.
The Dharma being nowhere save in the mind, there is no Dharma elsewhere whereby liberation may be attained. And when looking outwards into the vacuity of space, there is no place to be found where the mind is shining. And when looking inwards into one's own mind in search of the shining, there is to be found no thing that shines. If something does shine there, you do see something there. I don't know. Maybe Napa is calling. One's own mind is transparent without quality. Being in the clear light of voidness, one's own mind is the Dharmakaya, and being void of quality. It's comparable to a cloudless sky. It is not a multiplicity and is omniscient. Very great indeed is the difference between knowing and not knowing the import of these teachings, the wondrousness of these teachings. This self-originated clear light, eternally unborn, is a parentless babe of wisdom.
Wondrous is this.
Being uncreated, it's natural wisdom.
Wondrous is this.
Not having known birth that knows not death.
Wondrous is this.
Although it is total reality, there's no perceiver of it.
Wondrous is this.
Although wandering in the samsara, it remains undefiled by evil.
Wondrous is this.
Although seeing the Buddha, it remains unallied to good.
Wondrous is this.
Although possessed by all beings, it is not recognized.
Wondrous is this.
Those not knowing the fruit of this yoga seek other fruit.
Wondrous is this.
Although the clear light of reality shines within one's own mind, the multitude look for it elsewhere.
Wondrous is this.
The fourfold great path. All hail to this wisdom here set forth concerning the invisible, immaculate mind. This teaching is the most excellent of teachings. This meditation, devoid of mental concentration, all-embracing, free from every imperfection, is the most excellent of meditations. This practice concerning the uncreated state, when rightly comprehended, is the most excellent of practices. This fruit of the yoga of the eternally unsought, naturally produced, is the most excellent of fruits. Herewith we have accurately revealed the fourfold great path. This teaching without error, this great path, is of the clear wisdom here set forth, which being clear and unerring is called.
The path.
This meditation upon this unerring great path is of the clear wisdom here set forth, which being clear and unerring is called. This practice relating to this unerring great path is of the clear wisdom here set forth, which being clear and unerring is called.
The path.
The fruit of this unerring great path is the clear wisdom here set forth, which being clear and unerring is called. This yoga also concerns the foundation of the immutable great light. Teaching of this changeless great light is the unique clear wisdom here set forth, which illuminating the three times is called.
Light.
Meditation upon this changeless great light is a unique clear wisdom here set forth, which illuminating the three times is called.
The light.
Practice relating to this changeless great light is a unique clear wisdom here set forth, which illuminating the three times is called.
The light.
The fruit of this changeless great light is a unique clear wisdom here set forth, which illuminating the three times is
The
called.
light.
You notice the same principles have just been stated to you in three different ways, but the very same ones: teaching, meditation, practice, and fruit. In the footnote he explains that the reason for that is that may stick a little bit in your subconscious mind. You'll think of it some other time when you're far away, and then a wonderful thought will hit you. You'll say, wow, I sure came up with that one. And you wonder where the hell it came from. Well, it must have been out of my own intuition. Oh, yeah? Well, that's interesting. And now in the doctrine of the three times, it's explained in ordinary language how you can come to the same place without the meditation, without the teaching, and so on. The essence of the doctrine concerning the three times at one moment will now be expounded. The yoga concerning the past and future not being practiced. Memory of the past remains latent. Future not being welcomed is completely severed by the mind from the present. And the present not being fixable remains in the state of voidness or awareness. As Ram Dass used to say, be here now. The yoga of the nirvanic path. There being no thing upon which to meditate, no meditation is there whatsoever. There being no thing to go astray, no going astray is there. One be guided by memory. Without meditating, without going astray, look into the true state where self-cognition, self-knowledge, self-illumination shine resplendently. And these so shining are called,
Bodhisattvic mind.
in the realm of wisdom, transcendent over all meditation, naturally illuminative, where there is no going astray. The vacuous concepts, the self-liberation, and the primordial voidness are of the Dharmakaya. Without realization of this, the goal of the nirvanic path is unattainable. Simultaneously with its realization, the Vajrasattva state is realized. These teachings are exhaustive of all knowledge, exceedingly deep and immeasurable, although they are to be contemplated in a variety of ways. To this mind of self-cognition and self-originated wisdom, there are no two such things as contemplation and contemplator. When exhaustively contemplated, these teachings merge in at one moment with a scholarly seeker who has sought them, although the seeker himself when sought cannot be found. Seeker can't be found. Contemplation and contemplator are not there. You understand that? That means when you have no personal interest in it, for something for yourself, you've dropped your personality and ego and have felt the very oneness of it, you're in that place. Thereupon is attained the goal of the seeking and also the end of the search itself. Then nothing more is there to be sought, nor is there need to seek anything. This beginningless, vacuous, unconfused, clear wisdom of self-cognition is the very same as that set forth in the doctrine of the great perfection. As today people are walking the streets of Jerusalem, many thousands and thousands of Christians throughout the world, to that great one who gave us love, pure love. And if you go the way of love or the way of bhakti, and you make that love a global love or a universal love, this doesn't affect your attachments to whatever person that you may be in love with, but you realize that that love is bigger than all of that and that you are a part of that very oneness. And you don't have to like people. In fact, some people you may dislike them very much. But if you're going to follow the way of the great perfection, you've got to love them, whether you like them or not. You might want to spit in their eye, but nevertheless you got to love them because they're part of you. When you say toward the one, you already are the one, or you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be alive. You wouldn't be breathing. You wouldn't be thinking. You wouldn't be using that consciousness. Huh? Although there are no two such things as knowing and not knowing, there are profound and innumerable sorts of meditation, and surpassingly excellent it is in the end to know one's mind or consciousness and come to that awareness. Even if you don't let anybody know about it. Try it for yourself. Try it and you'll like it. There being no two such things as object of meditation and meditator, by those who practice or do not practice meditation, the meditator of the meditation be sought and not found. Thereupon the goal of meditation is reached, and also the end of meditation itself. About these meditators and these contemplators and these seekers, can't you see Zen sticking out all over it? It's giving you all the different ways, hitting you again and again and again with the thing. If you just let it go, it's there. There being no two such things as meditation and object of meditation, there's no need to fall into the sway of deeply obscuring ignorance. For as a result of meditation upon the unmodified quiescence of mind, the non-created wisdom instantaneously shines forth clearly. Although there is an innumerable variety of profound practices, to one's mind in its true state, they are non-existent. For there are no two such things as existence and non-existence. See, this world we're living in is something that is and isn't. That which really is our understanding of love and our understanding of consciousness. It's all a dream thing. But you know, dreams are very real. If you have a dream that you get hit in the head, certainly in the dream you feel it very much. Well, we're just all dreaming. Maybe we'll get shook sometime and wake up. And won't that be great? Then we'll graduate from this kingdom and go into the next deal. Whatever's happening there. There being no two such things as practice and practitioner, if by those who practice or do not practice the practitioner of the practice be sought and not found, thereupon the goal of the practice is reached, and also the end of the practice itself. But you realize that means that you're having consciousness in that unmodified quiescence of mind. That you as a personality, as an ego, as an individual are not involved, yet you're seeing it all clearly and the multitudinous sides of any question you can conceive of. You're there. Or if between two thoughts, when you're thinking about this while you're here, or I assume you are, and you leave here and you think of something else. Now between here and when you started thinking about something else, where were you? Huh? But you were still there. And because we are all part of the one sparks of that infinite reality, we are all originals. Because we're all part of that very oneness, which can't keep us from being originals. Inasmuch from eternity there's nothing whatsoever to be practiced, there's no need to fall into the sway of errant propensities. The non-created self-radiant wisdom here set forth, being actionless, immaculate, transcendent over acceptance or rejection, is itself perfect practice. Although there are no two such things as pure and impure, there is innumerable variety of fruits of yoga, all of which to one's mind in its true state are the conscious content of the Trikaya. There being no two such things as action and performer of action. If one seeks a performer of action, no performer of action be found anywhere. Thereupon the goal of all fruit obtaining is reached, and also the final consummation itself. There being no other method whatsoever of obtaining a fruit, there's no need to fall into the sway of the dualities of accepting, rejecting, trusting and distrusting these teachings. Realization of the self-radiant, self-born wisdom as a manifestation of the Trikeia in your own self-cognizing mind is the very fruit of attaining the perfect nirvana. But you see, regardless of what they promise you that they're going to carry you piggyback to realization, nobody can do it. You got to dig within yourselves and then just find that place of peace and contentment and say, what the hell is all this fuss about anyhow? Instead of going out and trying to find yourself some nose candy or some hay to smoke or some alcohol to drink, remember, all you're looking for is the very thing that we're talking about here. And if you find that, you'll be so happy and joyous inside that any outer ecstasy that you have enjoyed only represents about 10%. And what we're all looking for in this outward world anyway is unendurable pleasure indefinitely prolonged. But that pleasure is enlightenment. And then that joy, that Ananda is there for eternity. Why not try for the big one? What the hell's the use of trying for the little one? This wisdom delivers one from the eternally transitory aims, inasmuch as it doesn't fall into the sway of any extreme. It's called the middle path. Called wisdom because of its unbroken continuity of memory. Being the essence of the vacuity of mind, it's called the essence of the Buddha. If the significance of these teachings were known by all beings, surpassingly excellent would it be. Therefore, these teachings are called the means of attaining the other shore of wisdom, or the transcendental wisdom. To them who passed away in nirvana, this mind is both beginningless and endless. Therefore is it called the great symbol. Inasmuch as this mind, by being known, not being known, becomes the foundation of all the joys of nirvana and all the sorrows of samsara, it's called the All Foundation. The impatient ordinary person, when dwelling in his fleshly body, calls this very clear wisdom common intelligence. Common intelligence, common sense are synonymous, meaning the same thing. But the word common is highly misplaced, because to have common sense is the most uncommon capacity. If you have common sense and the sense of humor, you'll keep your little egos from being bruised and your feelings from being hurt. Regardless of whatever elegant and varied names be given to this wisdom, as a result of a thorough study, what wisdom other than it is here revealed can one really desire? Huh? Desire more than this wisdom to be like one who seeks an elephant by following its footprints. What the hell when the elephant itself has been found? The yoga of thatness. Quite impossible is it, even though one seek throughout the three regions, to find the Buddha elsewhere than in the mind. Although he that is ignorant of this may seek externally or outside the mind to know himself, how is it possible to find oneself when seeking others rather than oneself? He that thus seeks to know himself or herself is like a fool giving a performance in the midst of a crowd, forgetting who they are and seeking everywhere to find themselves. This simile also applies to one's erring in other ways. Unless one knows or sees the natural state of substances or things and recognizes the light in the mind, release from samsara is unattainable. That light in the mind is not the kind that shines in your eyes. That's the light that's in all eternity. That's what we see with, but we can't see. And that's the light that's in you and me. Unless one sees the Buddha in one's mind, nirvana is obscured. Although the wisdom of nirvana and the ignorance of samsara illusory appear to be two things, they cannot truly be differentiated. It's an error to conceive them otherwise than as one. Erring and non-erring are intrinsically also unity. By not thinking the mind to be naturally a duality and allowing it as the primordial consciousness to abide in its own place, beings attain deliverance. The error of doing otherwise than this arises not from ignorance in the mind itself, but from not having sought to know the thatness because it's the thatness is that which we know with. But thatness is synonymous with clear light, the void, the eternal, God, whatever you want to name it. Seek within thine own self-illuminated, self-originated mind, whence firstly all such concepts arise, secondly where they exist, and lastly whither they vanish. This realization is likened to that of a crow, which although already in possession of a pond flies off elsewhere to quench its thirst, finding no other drinking place, returns to the one pond. Well, it's a cinch. If the crow got thirsty enough and couldn't find any other place, they'd come back. So I see a lot of little people like ants running around in all different directions, trying to find outside of themselves when they got the answer inside. Don't make sense, but we do. We always think, oh well, they'll know. It's going to happen for you, in you, to you, and then you will be. And that's it. Similarly, the radiance which emanates from the one mind by emanating from one's own mind emancipates the mind. Now this which we're talking about, nobody can make it happen. The very fact of you're trying to make it happen is more expression on the part of your ego and your personality to try to push it through. So just let go. You already are. You already have it. It's just a matter of coming to it, finding it within yourself, not in somebody else. The one mind, omniscient, vacuous, immaculate, eternally the unobscured voidness, void of quality as the sky, self-originated wisdom shining clearly, imperishably, is itself the thatness. The whole visible universe also symbolizes the one mind, the one consciousness. By knowing the all consciousness in one's mind, one knows it to be as void of quality as the sky. Although the sky may be taken provisionally as an illustration of the unpredicable thatness, it's only symbolically so. Inasmuch as the vacuity of all visible things to be recognized is merely analogous to the apparent vacuity of the sky, devoid of mind, content, and form, the knowing of the mind does not depend on the sky symbol. Therefore, not straying from the path, remain in that state of voidness or beingness, awareness, godness, thatness. The yogic science of mental concepts. The various concepts, too, being illusory, none of them real, fade away accordingly. Thus, for example, everything postulated of the whole of samsara and nirvana arises from nothing more than mental concepts. Changes in one's train of thought or in one's association of ideas produce corresponding changes in one's conception of the external world. Therefore, the various views concerning things are due merely to different mental concepts. The 6 classes of beings respectively conceive ideas in different ways. The unenlightened externally see the externally transitory, dually. The various doctrines are seen in accordance with one's own mental concepts. As a thing is viewed, so it appears. To put the line that I just read into the vernacular, everything depends on how you look at it. Just that simple. That's not complicated. Everything depends on how you look at it, and you know it's a fact. If somebody says to you, well, so-and-so is such and such, you're liable to say to them, hell no, they're not that way at all. Because you have your own viewpoint, your own concept. We put so much weight in these concepts that they are real. Yet if I asked you to think of what you were doing even a week ago at 4:30 in the afternoon, can you remember? No, you can't. Concepts come and go. But the real you inside of you is eternal. Huh? To see things as a multiplicity is to cleave unto separateness is to err. Now follows the yoga of knowing all mental concepts. Seeing of the radiance of this wisdom or mind shines without being perceived, is Buddhahood. I'll read it again. It's just that simple. Think of it, contained in one line. The seeing of the radiance that shines without being perceived is Buddhahood. You see, we can't see with clear light. It's what we see with. You don't see the rays that are going out from your eyes to perceive anything, but they're there all the time. Mistake not by not controlling one's thoughts one errs, by controlling and understanding a thought process in one's mind. Emancipation is attained automatically. In general, all things mentally perceived are concepts. The bodily forms in which the world of appearance is contained are also concepts of mind. The quintessence of the 6 classes of beings is also a mental concept. Happiness of gods in the heaven worlds and of men, it's another mental concept. The unhappy states of suffering too, they're concepts of the mind. Some of that suffering, if you had a sense of humor, you wouldn't suffer. Ignorance, miseries, and the 5 poisons are likewise mental concepts. Self-originated divine wisdom, that's also a concept of the mind. I'll try to explain that. You see, if you just think you got this or think you got that, you're still dividing it into 2, and it's really a oneness, or a noneness, a oneness, or the void. Because then there's still a duality between your thinking and your opinion about and the thing itself. So the trick is to be the thing rather than divide yourself that way. You see? Misfortune caused by demons and evil spirits is also a concept of the mind. Gods and good fortune are also concepts of mind. Likewise, the various perfections are mental concepts. Unconscious one-pointedness is also a mental concept. How could it be a mental concept if it was unconscious one-pointedness? I won't argue. The color of any objective thing is also a mental concept. The qualityless and the formless is also a mental concept. The one and the many in at-one-ment is also a mental concept. Existence and non-existence as well as non-created, they're all concepts of the mind. Nothing save mind is conceivable. Mind, when uninhibited, conceives all that comes into existence. And that which comes into existence is like the wave of an ocean. The state of mind, transcendent over all dualities, brings liberation. Matters not what name may be carelessly applied to mind. Truly mind is one, and apart from mind there's not else. The unique one mind is foundationless and rootless. There's nothing else to be realized. The non-created is the non-visible. Where do you go when you go into deep sleep? Your body's still breathing and it's still alive. Life is there. Where are you? By knowing the invisible voidness and the clear light, though not seeing them separately, there being no multiplicity in the voidness, one's own clear mind may be known. Yet the thatness itself is not knowable. Of course it's not knowable. They're just trying to explain what I did crudely. That it isn't a matter of you being separate from it. The thatness is what you know with and what you are. Mind is beyond nature but experienced in bodily forms. The realization of the one mind constitutes the all deliverance. Without mastery of the mental processes, there can be no realization. Although sesame seed is the source of oil and milk the source of butter, not until the seed be pressed and the milk churned did the oil and butter appear. Although sentient beings are the Buddha essence itself, not until they realize this can they attain nirvana. Even a coward or an illiterate person may by realization attain liberation. Concluding sections, the general conclusion. Though lacking in power of expression, the author has here made a faithful record of his own yogic experiences. To one who has tasted honey, it's superfluous for those who have not tasted it to offer an explanation of its taste. Not knowing the one mind, even pansies go astray, despite their cleverness in expounding many different doctrinal systems. To give ear to the reports of one who has neither approached nor seen the Buddha even for a moment is like hearkening to flying rumors concerning a distant place one has never visited. Simultaneously with the knowing of the mind comes release from good and evil. If the mind is not known, all practice of good and evil result in nothing more than heaven or hell or samsara. In other words, you'll have the kind of heaven that you've dreamed about and as heaven for you. You'll have the kind of hell that you've figured out maybe you deserve, some little inky-dinky things you might have done. But regardless of that, you'll just be popped back into samsara or physical incarnation if you haven't fallen awake while you're here, conscious. So it's a good idea to fall awake. Because I hope to. I don't know. You can't make it happen. You got to let it happen. But I'm kind of hoping I'll meet all you folks on the other side, and we'll raise a lot of hell over there. See if we can't shake them a little bit at that level and go to the next one. As soon as one's mind is known to be of the wisdom of the voidness, concepts like good and evil karma cease to exist. Certainly, you realize any karma you're getting, you did it yourself. You did it with your own little hammer. You do it yourself, and the former incarnation gets smacked on the noggin when you get here. Very neat. Even as in the empty sky there seems to be, but is not a fountain of water, so in the voidness is neither good nor evil. When one mind is known its nakedness, this doctrine of seeing the mind naked, this self-liberation is seen to be exceedingly profound. Seek therefore thine own wisdom within thee. It is the vast deep. Final good wishes. All hail, this is the knowing of the mind, the seeing of reality, self-liberation. For the sake of future generations who shall be born during the age of darkness, these essential aphorisms, necessarily brief and concise here and set forth, were written down in accordance with tantric teachings. They're written down. We got 4 books of them left in paperback. And I think our book department would like to see those go by the wayside, but whether they will or not, I don't know. If you got a copy, there's no use having a second copy. Although taught during this present epoch, the text of them was hidden away amidst the cache of precious things. May this book be read by those blessed devotees of the future. Samaya, Gaia, Gaia, Gaia. Vast, vast, vast is divine wisdom. These teachings, called the knowing of the mind and self-identifying, self-realizing, self-liberating reality, were formulated by Padmasambhava, the spiritually endowed teacher from Yurgan. May they not wane until the whole samsara is emptied. Self-salvation. Therefore, O Ananda, be ye lamps unto yourselves. Be ye a refuge to yourselves. Betake yourselves to no external refuge. Hold fast to the truth as a lamp. Hold fast to the truth as a refuge. Look not for refuge to anyone beside yourselves. Clear light is the source of light, which lighteth every one of humankind that cometh into the world. It is the radiance of cosmic consciousness. Yogins realize it while still in the fleshly body, and all mankind glimpse it at the moment of death. It's the light of the Buddha and of the Christ, and of all masters of life. And to the devotee in whom it shines unimpededly, it is the Guru and the Deliverer. Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhi Swaha. Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhi Swaha.
Gatte, gatte, para, gatte, parsam, gatte, bodhisvaha.
May all beings be well. May all beings be happy. Peace, peace, peace. How about some lights? Thank you very much. Well, thank you for coming around today. This is the last time I'm going to ask you to come around this year, but next year I'll probably